Alright, the print is just finished, and about two and a half minutes ago, the bed temperature is down to like 41 degrees, so I'm going to go ahead and, it's better to let it cool down a little more than that, but, you can get it to work with this kind of temperature. Again, I'm taking my little spatula, and I'll take out off the ring first, is what I always try to do. Just kind of pull that sucker off. Like I said, this is going to be a little more interesting than the last one. The last one I just did one part. Here it's multiple parts. Trying to get this loose here. It's a little tricky. There we go. Okay. Now, it's, like I said, just like the last one, I'm mostly, again, using the momentum of the tool to try to break it loose, to start with, just to kind of get under it. I mean, I'm not really applying a lot of force, I'm just loosely holding it and knocking on it, again, mostly with the inertia of the tool itself, so you don't get carried away and break things or anything like that. Let me put this in flower mode. See a little more clearly. Okay, it's about to come loose. And like I said, different parts are often easier. See, that just broke right off. So, got our print there for that piece. And let's, don't turn your knife upside down. Right side up. Again, using the inertia of the knife mostly. That change in sound you can often detect, when it's about to break loose. Now parts that are, have more contact with the bed, of course, are harder to get off. It's going to be, there we go. Again, I didn't really apply any real force here. Let's get this one. Again, when it gets back there, it gets a little hard to have access to it toward the back of the bed there. There we go. Pops off. Again, the bigger the part, the stiffer it gets, the easier it is just with popping it. Again, I didn't actually have to apply nearly as much force at this part as I did that one in the previous video. But let me put these parts aside here. Okay, now just like before, you got to look and even if you don't see them, you should go in and try to, keep in mind, where it approximately does its leveling at, and go and scrape those areas clean. Because it does those 9 points, just go ahead and scrape them even if you don't see anything. Because again, that can really start screwing up your leveling. I've never had that be a problem because I've always made sure to do this. So, get your damp towel here and just kind of, I might need some more Cool Whip water here. I've dried out a little bit since the last print a couple hours ago. Again, it's not always necessary to do this, but generally after I do a print this size, I do clean the bed. But see, I missed one of those little things right there, so I think, maybe that's just a piece of something under the glass, I don't know. But, anyway, yeah, just make sure that, it's clean like that. Now let's go over and start the heater, and I don't need to explain this stuff because you see it in the other video. But, go into controls and start the preheat process for both the bed and the extruder. Now let's go to our print queue, and now just to show you kind of the process, let me try, because like I said, these two parts I've already done with, so I'm going to go ahead and remove them. And the discs, I've already done those. They look like they came out pretty good. Now this is the part we're going to print next. Again, that's going to be a tricky part because that base there is a very small contact area. It'll be interesting to see, you know, without a more substantial base, you know, whether that will print well or not, because it's really a fairly big part. Again, not quite as big as the sphere here, but the sphere had this wide base at the bottom of it, which helped it stick. So this doesn't. So it'll be interesting to see how that comes out. But let me go ahead and try to remove it, and I'll show you the process of importing real quick. I'm going to go to Add, and then see, what was that thing called? It was called Dome. Yeah, Dome. Okay. Hit OK. Then I'll go to Dome. Now see how, when I brought it in, see how tiny that is? That's because I'm working in inches and this thing's in millimeters. What you got to do here is you got to go down to the Edit button down here and go up here to Scale, and there's 25.4 millimeters. I hope this isn't blurry. There's 25.4 millimeters per inch. So go hit Apply Scale, and voila, you know, Bob's your uncle. You know, there it is. Okay, but when you do that, you gotta remember to hit Save. If you don't, the thing will freak out on you when it comes to generating the layers. But go ahead and hit Save, and that saves it. Saves the changes you made, and then, you know, so we got our, you know, our complete part there that you can see. And let me go up to Layer View. Okay, now it says press Generate to view layers. So you got to go down here and press this Generate button here. And you can see what it does. Take it out of fire mode here. So I can get a wider angle view. You know, it says 1 hour and 50 minutes. And you know, and again, we can go through the layers. Let me go grab this layer button here and the slider, so you can see what it's going to try to do. You know, this is going to grow pretty substantially. And like I said, I normally, traditionally do this without supports because, you know, I didn't know how to save it, you know, if I tinkered with things, because the supports come out funky. But at any rate, that basically has that ready to go. Now let's go back and check our advanced controls, and again, I am jabbering here a little bit, so if you're taking this on a stopwatch, it's going to be a little bit off. But you know, this is up to temperature, and our extruder is up to temperature, and I guess I'll come back here while I'm waiting for hairspray to dry. And again, take my Aqua Net, and I just really have to apply it to the center here because, you know, it's going to print right in the middle. So like I said, we just got to wait for that hairspray to dry here for a couple of minutes. Like I said, you really don't need too terribly much. But it's good, you know, printing this to, let me spray a little more on there because again, you know, it has such little contact area. It's nice to have that extra hold, you know, because this is Aqua Net, you know, extra super hold. So, but, you know, it's worked quite well. But yeah, it just takes a few minutes for the hairspray to evaporate. But again, I usually give it a couple of minutes because you can actually literally sit here and watch the hairspray evaporate. And like I said, it's pretty close to being dry now. Yeah, boy, it's extra sticky too. But okay, so like I said, now, you know, look at your nozzle and see if anything's leaking out of it. Sometimes it leaks, sometimes it doesn't. You know, in this case, I don't see any, you know, effluent extruding from the nozzle, so we're pretty much ready to do our print then. But let me wait just for a couple of seconds here, just to make sure, because I'm still paranoid about printing on wet hairspray. I don't know what happens if you do, but it probably won't work. So, I like to give it just a couple of minutes. I always wait a couple of minutes extra for that hairspray to dry, just to make double damn sure it's set. But that should be enough. So anyway, we got our file in here. I got it scaled, and ready to go. So we're up to temperature, as you can tell. And so now it's time to go ahead. Well, let's check our printer one last time, since I let it sit here. You don't want to have anything extruding out of that nozzle, so it looks good. Okay, so let's hit print, and then let's go watch this process so you can see how it levels. Now, like I said, basically, looks at the extremities of its print footprint and sits there and dwells for a while it usually leaks. In this case it's not leaking, and sometimes it doesn't do it, sometimes it does. I'm not quite sure why, but usually it'll sit here and leak while it's sitting here on this dwelling point. It'll usually leak out a booger, and you can see it goes down and kisses it, and then it comes up, and see it did leave a little booger there. See, there's a little spot, and you've got to get rid of that spot if that's going to be on your print. So that's why I actually have to kind of do this while it's in motion. Don't get your hand caught up in it. That'd probably screw it up. But just try to make sure, boil it off. Try to make sure you get that little booger, that usually leaves, because that will be an inclusion in your print. It'll be an imperfection, and it'll kind of screw you up. But yeah, see, it's going through this 9-point bed leveling, and now it's beginning its print. So you can kind of see what's going on. Oops, damn. I gotta get better control over focusing, keeping this camera on target. Yeah, so it's starting to print our part. It starts with that perimeter ring, and like I said, it's always good to watch this perimeter ring, because if you think it gives you an early warning sign of whether the printer's printing properly or not. And if it's not, you can hit stop pretty quickly before it finishes this little thing. Some people, talk about the Cura engine. I mean, talk about, oh, I think I have a clogged nozzle. Well, in a lot of cases, if you try to use that Cura engine instead of the matter slicer or whatever it is that I'm using, every time I try to use it, basically, it makes you think you got a clogged nozzle, because the nozzle is too close to the bed. So what happens is it actually blocks it, so it can't extrude any filament. You can see the gears turning, but nothing's coming out, so it makes you think you got a blocked filament, a clogged filament. I mean, a clogged extruder, I mean. So, you think, oh, damn, I'm going to have to clean the damn extruder. But no, it's just that when that Cura engine, it's trying to print too close to the bed, and that's what's clogging the extruder. But if you actually, take the filament out, you realize that this little knurled bolt in here actually gnaws a hole in the side of the extruder. So even when it starts doing multiple layers on the Cura engine, nothing comes out because it's gnarled a hole in it. So because it starts out blocking it, it's just set too low to begin with. And it makes you think you have a clogged extruder, but if you pull the filament out right afterwards and feed it back in, and then switch back to matter slicer, as your engine, well, the extruder's not clogged. It's just, it's just the Cura engine, its default settings, are set so low that it just, it's trying to print right on the glass, and nothing can extrude out of the extruder, so it kind of blocks it. But your extruder is not blocked, it's not clogged, you don't have to clean it or anything. It's just, it makes you think it is, because that's how it acts. But, that's the only thing that's happened to me. Now, I have talked to Tiffany at Robo3D on live chat on Robo3D's website, and she gave me a lot of pointers on how to adjust it, because you can't adjust that first layer and, its settings and so forth, but it's a little awkward. But I don't know why the hell they just haven't, whoever is in charge of that, either Robo3D or those matter hackers, why they haven't adjusted that so it works right out of the damn box, because that Cure engine just won't print. You know, because of that, and you got to go adjust it. Now, I've got a copy of all Tiffany's advice, and I actually posted it on one of my YouTube videos. Comments. Somebody was commenting on one of my YouTube Robo videos, and I actually posted all Tiffany's comments, our whole conversation, on you know, on the live chat support feature on their website. So it's like a couple hundred lines worth of advice on how to tweak the printer. I just hadn't gotten around to messing with it yet, because again, for what I'm doing right now, this is still okay, you know, and I just really got work I need to get done with it. I mean, this again is a toy for me, and it's still okay for what I'm trying to do right now. When it becomes an issue, eventually I'll make a video on how to fine-tune this thing, you know, and I'll start digging into Tiffany's advice there to try to correct the Cure engine. Now, that Slice 3R, I cannot get that to run on this computer without it crashing. Even this latest release, it will crash anytime I try to, you know, hit generate. Anytime I try to hit generate, it will always crash the program. So it does not do that on this computer, which is also a Windows 7 computer. They pretty much have the same updates, but this is going to be more updated security patch-wise and all that than this one, because I never connect this computer to the internet. Like I said, that computer, you know, I always go through this switcher to move files from this computer to this computer. That's my secured workstation, so it's never hooked to the internet ever directly. Again, I tried running on my XP, and it actually runs on my XP machine over here, but I can't get it to talk to the printer, for the USB drivers don't work on it for some reason. So anyway, but the point is that you know, that gives you an overview. Now, like I said, the last part of this video will be, you know, I'll show you what this part looks like when we're done with it. So, you know, you can see how that came out. And, you know, so it'll be interesting to see, you know, how this rather awkward looking part, you know, how well it prints, you know, with no supports and everything. So I don't think the supports will be a problem, but I'm still worried that the thing may actually break loose from the bed. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see if it comes out with such a small contact area to the print bed. So anyway, I'll update you with that when we get to it. I wanted to point out to you guys that if you guys let the bed fully cool on this, which usually I'm impatient to get another print started, but, you know, I printed out a whole lot of parts here. If you let it fully cool, you know, and this has been cooling for certainly over 15-20 minutes, it hardly takes any force at all to knock these off. I mean, I'm just barely even tapping it. And it's the same way with bigger parts, you know. Like I said, it just takes nothing at all. Even parts that are, you know, completely stuck in and pretty thin. I mean, it just doesn't take anywhere near as much force as you saw on the other part. Just a very, very small amount. And these are like potato chips. They're really thin little deals. But, you know, all these things just practically slide off. What's interesting, too, is when they're that cold, it's almost like they got vacuum suction holding them down, too. Anyway, just thought you should know that. But again, usually I'm impatient to get another print going, so I don't want to sit there and wait for it to fully cool off. So that's why often I have to chip on it. Anyway,